Welcome to Combat Uplink, presented by Matlock's Fight Talk.
How's the bandwidth been like for you having to now do this?
Yeah. Listen, I knew what I was getting into, you know. I put a lot on my plate. Now it's time to eat.
UFC 325 is in the books along with another Zuffa Boxing event. Actually, a lot of combat sports happened over the weekend. I'm Captain Matlock and thank you for tuning into this transmission. Now, I was unable to watch the UFC 325 broadcast live because I had other obligations, so I'm unsure of how the Paramount Plus broadcast looked compared to the first one, because I discussed how Paramount will probably have to make adjustments to ad placements. But I wasn't able to experience it, but from what everybody says, it has improved, so that's good. But what about the fights? We didn't hear from Dana at the UFC 325 post-fight press conference. I don't think he was in Sydney. But we did hear from him on the Sunday after his Zuffa Boxing event. So let's hear what he had to say about UFC 325.
But what was your thoughts on last night's actions and how Alexander Volkanovski retained his belt?
What were my thoughts on last night?
Yeah.
The thing that stood out was the toupee for me last night. One of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. Are you talking about boxing or UFC?
UFC, the Volkanovski.
Yeah. The UFC card was awesome. Loved it. Good?
Okay, I mean, that's not very enthusiastic. But I mean, he was busy. He's a busy guy. The event was in Australia, and he had boxing the next day, so he didn't have time. But let's hear what he has to say about the boxing card he was in attendance for on Sunday.
It was a great card. Yeah, great card. Yeah, great fights.
Anybody who says Dana White is not phoning it in is crazy. Let's go over this card. I rewatched all the fights, kept track of my score, and by the way, as a whole, I thought the card was okay. I think Sydney deserved better. We all deserve a better card and probably some back pay for the terrible cards they charged us from the ESPN era. But anyways, some of the fights I was most excited for were the Road to UFC fights at the very beginning. Like the first fight of the night, Sulangrangbo versus Lawrence Louis or Lou. Now listen guys, I usually don't listen to the broadcast audio, so I'm probably going to get some names wrong. Rangbo is who I was most excited to watch because he has a fun action style on the feet. He has good hands, decent power and speed. He doesn't have the most versatile arsenal of weapons, but he does well with what he has, and especially at only 20 years old. And Tapology shows that he already has 14 pro fights, which is a good and a bad thing. Who knows how long he'll last, but for now, he's fun to watch. And going into this fight, I did pick him to win, but I was thinking if he does lose, it's probably because he gets out-grappled. And that's kind of what happened in this fight. I think that's what swayed the judges the other way. I scored the fight for Rangbo. It did go to a split decision, but Lawrence took the cards. But it was an exciting fight. I'm excited to see where Rangbo goes from here. Even if it's not in the UFC, he's got a fan in me. The next fight was Nakamura versus Szalay. I picked Szalay to win, which he pretty much was because Nakamura did basically nothing the entire fight, while Szalay constantly put himself in danger. Even when he was ahead on the scorecards, in my mind, he still was putting himself in danger. Because of that, he gets dropped in the third and TKO'd. From a perfectly timed knee, by the way, from Nakamura. Szalay probably has some fun fights in his future, and I'm not sure what to think of Nakamura just yet. And honestly, I don't think Nakamura knows what to think of Nakamura. The third fight of the night I was also pretty excited for because Dom Mar Fan, the Street Buddha, took on Sang Wook Kim, or Sang Kim Ook, or something like that. We'll call him Frogman because that's his nickname. The nicknames alone, by the way, should get you hyped. Now both guys are primarily grapplers, and headed into this fight, I felt that Street Buddha was a little quicker, a little better in the striking department, and definitely, I think, a craftier grappler, so I picked him to win. The only thing I was concerned about, since they're both grapplers, is that if they both gas, they might just end up having like a very weird slugfest, and in that, I think Buddha could get knocked out, because I thought Frogman would be a little bit stronger, or more powerful, and that's kind of what happened. They did end up having a slugfest, but Street Buddha does not get knocked out, and he won all 3 rounds. Not a super high level fight, but a good one nonetheless, and the first fight that I picked correctly. The next fight was Genghis Khan versus Yiza, not one I was particularly interested in, but I picked Yiza to win. Khan was doing quite well for the first part of round 1, but you could see the momentum shift to Yiza at the end of that round, so I scored the first round for Khan and then round 2 and 3 for Yiza, because he was the better fighter in those rounds. But the judges gave it to Khan. I mean, it was a majority decision. I think they got it wrong, but no one is going to know that or remember it, so. From there, we head into the actual UFC Sydney prelims with John Mikhailov versus Oban Elliott. And because I cannot trust Oban to make good decisions, and it kind of played out exactly like that. Oban does very well in the first round, aside from getting dropped, but then he ends up getting choked out in the second round via rear naked choke. But I do like that Mikhailov called out Neil Magny, the Dark Horse Goat. That should be a good one. Okay, speaking of goats, Torrez Finney was the next fight, and holy shit, guys. Let's be completely transparent right here. I think we can all agree that Finney is a meme. He has a skill set, but he's a meme. Calling him the GOAT, but he was on Dana White's Contender Series, and then he had to fight again on Dana White's Contender Series, and they still signed him. And because of that, I do hope that Torrez Finney becomes champion one day. And for that reason, I will always pick him to put that energy out into the universe, because the day he becomes champion is when the UFC is officially cooked. So naturally, I picked him to win, and not surprisingly, he lost the fight. And I feel bad because I think he tore some ligaments, and I don't want to kick a man when he's down. So congratulations to Malkoun. He is now the interim GOAT. Billy Elekana submits Junior Tafa in round number 2 via rear naked choke. Junior was winning until he wasn't, which seems to be the theme of UFC 325, other than fighters getting full mount. And I feel like that's coming back. Full mount is making a comeback. I don't have anything else to say about this fight. Quillan Salkilld quickly disposes of Jamie Malarkey in round 1 with a neck crank, and Jamie seems a lot older than 31. And he can't seem to put together any consistency in the UFC. Probably the end of the road for him. I'm ready to see Salkilld put to the test at this point. He's an interesting prospect. One thing I didn't like is in one of his post-fight interviews, he had mentioned that he just comes in and wings it, which is fun. That's cool. That'll probably catch up with him. Maybe not, but I'm guessing it will. The next bout was in the heavyweight division. Oh, just shut it down, man. Shut this division down. Allow me to briefly just be an old man yelling at the clouds. As someone who started watching MMA circa 2008, this current heavyweight division is abysmal. And you've probably heard this before. But it's not up for debate. Even when Francis was here, it was still better back in like 2008. Curse all the fans that complained about steroids. Curse the UFC, Dana White, USADA, and Jeff Nowitzki for bringing the heavyweight division to where it is today. Now listen, most of us like Tai Tuivasa, alright? We can all agree on that. It's nice to have my balls was hot Derrick Lewis. It's nice to have Shui Vasa. It's okay to have no charisma Hokit. It's fine. And then, of course, we have John Jones' disciple, Gable Steveson, coming in. But what I really want is an angry Goliath beating the brakes off another Goliath. And I want it in the UFC. I picked Teixeira to win, so I got it correct, but who gives a shit? Mauricio Ruffy picks up a victory against Rafael Fiziev in one of the better and more important fights of the evening. Say what you will about Fiziev, but this was a good test for Ruffy. Ruffy with a great jab, ends it with the right hand. I'm excited to see what's next. I got that pick right. Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. A low interest fight for me personally, but I figured it'd be a fun one. It's Dan Hooker. And I was really 50-50 on who to pick, but Hooker seemed to be on the downswing of things, to say the least. And despite him having a competitive first round, he went on to lose the second pretty dramatically, as Herb Dean watched him get beaten to a living death. Ultimately, I ended up picking BSD to get the victory. BSD thinks he'll be champion, and maybe he will. But after that performance, I don't know about that.
You know what? I'm gonna be champion with this shit, because nobody is going to do this 3 times 5 minutes with me. Nobody. Give me the fucking belt. I'm ready.
And then we have the main event, and yes, you've heard it from every single person, and I'm here to parrot it because it's true. It is a rematch no one asked for. And my thoughts going into their first fight as I said in my last transmission, is that as long as Volk's chin holds up, he doesn't look too old, he'll outsmart Diego and win the fight. So I picked Volk by decision, and that is what happened both times. Everyone and their mother is talking about Diego's footwork. I get it. I'll leave it to the mothers to talk about. Volk is one of the greats. It's in his name, and I'm happy he got the victory. His stock only rises, Diego stays about the same. Other stuff that is going on. Since I haven't talked about heavyweight enough, let's visit Peak Fighting 50, my first time watching, where Gregory McCarl, the Prince of War, Hardy, became the heavyweight champion. I know. So let's see what it's about.
Out of Denver, Colorado, by way of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Minneapolis, he means? What, okay.
Trainers Gleason Thibodeau.
Say that again?
Gleason Thibodeau.
It's Gleason Thibodeau, but... Now here's one of the more bizarre moments.
Will receive the bounty reward. Knockout bounty has been activated. The next knockout will receive the bounty reward.
So that's the thing.
Follow the instructions. Follow my commands at all times. Stop when I say stop. Fight when I say fight. Check stuff at all times. Go back to your key. Cut the corners. And I'm gonna call you out. Touch up.
So shout out to Phil for throwing those crazy kicks. Shout out to myself, dude, because that was a brawl, man.
The 37-year-old Prince defeated Philip Latou for the vacant heavyweight title. And in a celebratory post on Instagram, he says, "If you follow me tonight, I'ma follow you back. I'm sick of haters getting the attention. Time to show love to the followers and fans that hold it down every single time without fail. Hashtag no me without y'all." Oh, that's sweet. Urijah Faber's A1 Combat 33. Urijah Faber makes a comeback on his own card. A grappling match. And he defeats Francisco Rivera Jr. by rear naked choke in the second round. Forever young is the California kid. But on that same card, MMA keeps the eye pokes alive with a nasty one in Nick Maximov versus Buddy Wallace. Buddy Wallace, a great name for a NASCAR driver. Dirty Boxing 5, my other favorite promotion, took place with John Jones and Gable Steveson in attendance, of course, with Jessica Rose Clark losing to Paula Cristina dos Santos Silva, aka Bittencourt, for the Women's Bantamweight Championship. Some think Jessica Rose Clark won that fight and think she was robbed. She wasn't. She had trouble getting inside the reach. She did not land the more damaging shots. Bittencourt just kept the range and made Jessica Rose Clark pay for entering that range. But does anyone really care? She'll probably get her next time. So that is another UFC in the books. And then another one this weekend, our first fight night this time around. And you know I'm tuning in to see my boy, Kyoji Horiguchi, make his return once again. Thank you for tuning into this transmission. Captain Matlock, out.